Okay, let's go ahead and we are going to get rolling. Y'all, I'm really excited about some stuff that's coming down the pike. We are really getting systems and technology working, and I'm uncovering more aspects about our new CRM and the tools that are available to us that just make me so excited. And I'm somewhat of a tech geek anyway, and a weenie in that respect. But folks, I'll give you the perfect example. I've been doing some testing. What we eventually want to get to is when leads are coming into you through either through Mike or through some other lead source like Lead Engine. So you've got a listing and somebody says, I'm interested in this listing, you would normally get a lead flowing back to your CRM. Prior to Moxi, that was done within Business Builder or Zap. Okay, now it's going to change to Moxi. And I just discovered something in the process of testing how this is all going to work that was just really cool. It sounds really simple, but I think you guys will recognize the impact of this. Okay, so I created a dummy contact. A dummy lead. I sent that lead from our normal systems into my Moxi. I went in, I set that person up on a campaign. I created a search for them in Real Scout. And a few minutes later, I thought, well, okay, let me test something. I pick up my phone and I tried to call the phone number that I had assigned to that dummy lead. And I named it Joe Blow. And I thought, okay, well, let's just test thing and I'm going to plug the phone number in. When I plugged the phone number in on my phone, Joe Blow's name and number was already in my phone, in my contacts. Do you guys not find that as cool as I do? So if a lead comes in and you put them in your Moxi, they're also in your phone too. You can immediately pick up, start texting, start communicating with them. You can do that within Moxi if you want to pay a small fee, monthly fee. But the fact that it syncs your email contacts with your phone contacts, with your engage people contacts, that is gold, y'all. And if you don't have to do double and triple data entry, that is just so cool, too cool for school. Okay. The other thing I figured out is I recently, and we're still perfecting this, and the help desk is going to be a partner in this process too. I can actually go in and create a listing presentation, a generic listing presentation, or a very specific listing presentation. The help desk could do this and then assign it to Nicole or assign it to Leah or anybody. And then when you go into your Moxi, the help desk listing presentation that you requested is going to be there and ready to go. That's pretty cool tool. So these are all things that are just geeking me out, but I hope you guys see the utility in it too. So last week we talked a little bit about the importance of having your database squared away, having people grouped, and having them segmented. Today we're going to take the next step after that. So once you have grouped and segmented your people, then you want to start working on campaigns. So we're going to watch a short video similar to what we did before. That is going to talk about the process of campaigns, the whys and the wherefores beforehand. I know I've been helping a lot of you personally get your campaign set up, and I'm more than willing to do that too. If you are watching either this video or this Zoom live and you have not done some of this setup things and you are curious about this and you're like, how do I tap into that? That's what my coaching calendar is for. First order of business is get your contacts into your CRM, and then we can start doing the kind of stuff that we're going to talk about today. Okay. Any questions before I get rolling, y'all? All right. We are going to watch a quick and dirty video real quick. Hold on just a second. All right. Everybody see my screen okay? All right, we're going to watch Brett Calthorpe one more time.
Hello, everybody. Brett Calthorpe here, Director of Agent Development from Moxi.
Is the audio okay?
And welcome to another edition of 15 Minutes of Moxi Works. Today, we're going to talk about how you can use Moxi Engage to create a monthly newsletter. This is a really cool, I think, 15-minute examples, because we also talk basically how to create any type of campaign. So we show you in the context of creating a newsletter, but this is also how you would create any number of custom campaigns that you might want to use within Engage. So let's get started. So you can see here, we basically have a screen that shows what my campaigns page looks like in Moxi Engage. And there's three main sections. And I thought to start, we should probably just go through the campaign section, because I think it'll help the rest really make a lot of sense. Because a lot of agents, they'll come to this tab and they'll see a whole bunch of names and different sections, and they're going, okay, wow, this seems a little overwhelming. So I'm going to go ahead and walk you through the three sections of our campaigns section within Moxi Engage. So first, I want to talk about section 1, which is those header tabs across the top. So number 1, you have My Campaigns, which obviously this allows you to take a look at the campaigns, their status. All of those campaigns are going to be go ahead and showing. B, you can see the e-blasts. Now, so e-blasts are different. These are kind of just one-off emails. This isn't so much an email that would be in a campaign. It's really just a, hey, everybody, this is something special. Let's check it out. C, of course, is neighborhood news, which we've talked an awful lot about. But this is where you would go to see things like your open rate, unsubscribes, and all of your activity, which is really important because, as we know, what gets measured gets managed. So it really helps you really make sure that neighborhood news is working for you. Next up, we have listing announcements. Same kind of a thing here. You can see which listing announcements you've actually sent out and track on how well that's doing. My emails is basically a dashboard of all your different emails. Now, I've seen agents use these, obviously the emails that are within campaigns, but these can be a great place to have pretty much any number of generic email topics. So if you send a standard response of, hey, congratulations, your offer was accepted, or hey, congratulations, we've made it through the inspection period, or we've received the rest of the escrow, whatever it may be, you can actually pre-create templated emails, which is just going to be a big time saver. Nobody wants to sit there and write the same email 4, 5, 6 times a week for months at a time. And then last but not least, postcards. So if your brokerage has a relationship with one of our partners, or highlighting Quantum Digital here, you can actually access your postcards account from this tab. So that's section 1. Now let's go down to the next area, section 2. You'll see that we have all campaigns, which again shows every campaign regardless of the status. Now the status is important, and we'll come to that here in a minute. So our first status is awaiting setup. So these are campaigns that we've actually added from a library or created, but we're not actually running. They're just kind of sitting there ready to go, but we're not utilizing them yet. Running, obviously, this is the campaigns that we're currently sending that we have a list of folks subscribed to. Next up is pause. So perhaps we were running a campaign during the fall and we decide, okay, well, let's go ahead and pause that. That will show up there. And then last but not least, archived campaign. So perhaps you created a very specialized campaign for a certain event that only happens every few years or whatever it may be. Instead of deleting them out, you can just go ahead and archive them. And then if you want to go back and take a look at them and bring them back to life, you could do that in the future. And then last but not least is area 3, which is, this is really kind of the data tab. This is where you're going to find out how effective is my marketing? How well am I doing in terms of generating interest? So let's go through that section now. You'll see number 1A, individual campaign name. So this is what we've called our campaign. It may be buyer warm prospects. It may be monthly newsletter. It may be first time home buyer tips. Whatever that is, will show there, right? The next section is schedule. So that's going to tell you when is the next email getting sent, because you have the option within Engage to create your cadence. You know, perhaps it's a monthly newsletter, perhaps it's a weekly, quarterly, whatever it may be. That's very important. Then we start to get into the measurement. So open rate, right? What percent of emails that were successfully delivered, which means that the receiver's email didn't bounce it back at us, how many of them actually opened our email, right? Click rate. Very important. It's one thing to have people open an email, right? Because there's some email clients that literally just by selecting the email, it de facto opens that email. But the click rate is super important, because in the email that you send out, typically you want to try to have a call to action. Go here to sign up for my newsletter. Go here to register to win free tickets. Click here to watch a great video on this subject. So the click rate, that's really what we want to look at, because it's one thing just to get their attention. But if they click through, that shows that they're more engaged with us, and hopefully we're building a better rapport with them, and we're delivering value. And at the end of the day, delivering value is the whole point of these campaigns. So opens is next, and that will tell us out of all emails we sent, how many were actually opened. Next up, we have clicks, the number of successfully delivered. So we have a percentage based on how many people we sent it to, and then we have the totals, the cumulative totals for those. Then we have unsubscribes. Nobody likes it when people unsubscribe, but you know what? It's a factor of life these days. Everybody gets a ton of different emails, but if you're seeing that certain campaigns are getting higher unsubscribe rates, well, that's a good sign that you might want to go in, take a look at those emails and tweak that campaign, right? Because you might have a 8 email campaign, but if you're noticing when I get to email 4 that I'm getting a lot of unsubscribes, well, that tells me I need to go in and fix email 4. So this is super handy. People, the total number of people that are actually signed up for the campaign, and that includes people that were delivered to or not. And then last but not least, we see our emails. So these are the actual emails that combined create that campaign, and it shows us our stats. So in the example I just shared, again, you can see, which ones of my emails are the most effective. So if I'm going to go and say, hey, what can I do to make this better? Very quickly, I have a few minutes, go ahead and take a look at your campaign. And one of those emails is vastly different on open rate or click rate. Perfect spot to go in and revisit. So now that we've talked about the different sections of campaigns, let's talk about how to actually create a campaign. So your first step, and we're going to use this as a newsletter example, is you can see we're in my campaigns area, and I'm going to click on my emails, because before you can create a campaign, you need to have emails that are part of it. So for example, basically your campaign is your table of contents, your emails are the pages. So we have to write the book first. So we go ahead and click on my emails. Now, once we do that, we have an option to click on add from library. So this is, it seems a little odd, but this is how you create a new page. There's no add new email. You have to basically take an existing email, add it, and then basically save the changes as a new email. So it's a workaround that sometimes agents get confused on. So we're going to click on add from library. Next, you can see which one I'm going to pick. Now, this is super important. Your brokerage should create a few different quick sample emails. And all it is them going in the back end saying, okay, here's a sample email 2, sample email 3. And that way you have things to go from, because you as an agent, again, cannot create the first template. So your brokerage will create a couple different sample emails that may or may not have content in them. And then when you click on add to the emails, that's when you can start getting customized. Now, if you have more questions about this, support.moxiworks.com has all sorts of tutorials, but hopefully that makes sense, and getting in and doing it the first time, it'll flow for you. So once we click add to emails, now we have created this new email, sample email. This is my new copy that I brought in, that I'm saying, okay, this is what I'm going to modify for my newsletter email. Okay. So once I've done that, all I do is click on the name sample email. That's the one I want to use. When I do that, you get 2 options. Number one is you can set up the email. So this is basically the beginning of it, where you can create a subject and some preview text. And then the second part of it is edit email content. And this is where we actually build the email itself. We might have a header or footer. We can add all sorts of different elements. So I'll cover both, but let's go ahead and start with setup email. So once I click on edit setup, now you can see our newsletter setup area. So we can go basically create setup email, which is where we create a subject, and we're creating a preview text. So you might have the subject line be something like April is here, don't miss these wonderful events. But then you can also add a preview text that adds a little bit more context. So you could say, welcome to, spring is here, great time for events. And then you can use the preview text to say, in this issue, we cover X, Y, and Z. So it's really kind of up to you how you do that. And then you can decide, in my email, am I going to have a header or footer? And then our signature. I always like to have the signature so we have our information in there. So once we've done that, we hit the nice blue save button, and then we're going to go ahead and go in and build our email. So once we go in to start building an email, you can see that I've got just basically the beginnings here. So I've got an image at the top, I've got a text area, and then another section below. So what I've done here is I want to highlight an upcoming taste of the city. So in this example, I'm using St. Augustine, Florida. So what I want to do is, number one, for the text, that's kind of my get 'em. Hey, do you know that this is coming? It's a big event for St. Augustine. So I've put in the text in the copy, but I've also put in a call to action. So if you see and they read through it, at the bottom it says, contact me, email me, and I have free tickets. You don't have to pay $5. We'll give you free tickets. And so you can easily go ahead and put links in there. So it's like, click this link to register for a free ticket or whatever it may be. So I went ahead and did the text box first. Now there's a few things we can do for our newsletters that kind of spiff them up a little bit. So they're not just information. Obviously, number one is content. Number two is, let's add some real estate content, right? So let's go ahead and go on to the next step. And you can see over on the right, when you're building the newsletter, we have rows, content, and style. Style is basically like your margins. You know, how big is it, size-wise, how's it going to look, etc. But I want to talk about the content section. So when we're in the content section, you can see that it's actually a lot like editing your website. You can create dividers, text boxes, images, add in all sorts of different things. Well, I want to add in some listings. I think that's really cool. It's interactive. So let's go ahead and do that. So I go ahead and click on the listings, and all you do is you click and drag it over to wherever you want. So I could drag it over to between the image and the text. I could drag it over to below the text. You get to choose where you want that listing sections to live. So once I go ahead and drag it over, you basically get a screen where you can add in listings. So you have a nice list of your MLS. Go ahead and put in those MLS listings that you want to highlight. All you have to do, add in those, and then go ahead and hit close and hit save. And there you have it. Now you'll have listings showing up in your email newsletter. So again, a great call to action. Hey, we really want you to check out these properties, or here's my featured properties, or here's some great investment properties. So it doesn't have to just be, here's what I have listed. You can actually be very intentional with this. Is, hey, we want to spotlight the top 5 luxury properties in the market right now. Or here's the best investment properties, or, you know, these are ones that are coming, are great fixer-uppers, whatever it may be. So you have the ability to really curate the real estate section of that newsletter. And after all, that's what you're known for, right? Is the real estate expert. Last but not least, I want to go ahead and add an image, right? So all you would do for that, and it says it in big letters right on top, double click it to insert an image. So you have a couple different options of how you can insert. You can either drag and drop the image from your computer, or you can go ahead and click on upload image, go through the path, and then double click on the image you want, which is what I have the example here for Taste of St. Augustine. Now, once we've done that, we have now had a campaign, right? So you can see down here, we've created the email. Now we want to go ahead and add it to a campaign. So just like we did with the email, we're going to go into our campaigns and take a look and do the same thing. Is we're going to go ahead and add to campaigns. So I'm looking in the library. These are all the campaigns. And again, I have a dummy campaign to start from. So dummy email, then add it to create the email, dummy campaign, then add it to create the campaign. So I click on add to campaigns, and you're going to see that we're right here, which looks pretty familiar. And we talked about these boxes before, but we can see under the awaiting setup, there's my drip campaign, build your own. So now I'm ready to customize this and make it into my newsletter campaign. So all I do is click on the name, drip campaign, build your own. Next steps, I have 2 options. Number one, I want to pick my recipients. Who am I sending this to? Second, we want to talk about the campaign schedule. And this is what I talked about before, where we can figure out what's our cadence, which emails are in it, and how often do they go out. So we're going to start with campaign schedule, because right now we don't have a campaign. So we want to make sure we add our first email. So once you click on add email, then I go back to my sample email, double click on that, and I've now added that email to my newsletter campaign. Next, we want to add our recipients. So all we can do here is, you can see I've got a little animation here. We're going to go back in above campaign schedule, click on setup for recipients, and then we have the ability to go ahead and figure out which recipients we want to have in there. So you can add recipients as individual contacts. We can add them as groups, however we choose to do it. One really cool feature is if you decide I want this group to add it to this drip campaign, then whenever you have a new contact come in that is assigned to that group, they're automatically signed up for that same campaign. So you don't have to go in and say, oh, I've got 10 new first-time home buyers, so I need to sign up to my first-time home buyer campaign. Moxi Engage does it for you. Awesome step to save you a lot of time. So once you've selected the recipients, we just click on add. Now we've saved our recipients. We get to take a look at the list of who's going to get it. And once we've saved, we are ready to run. So simply, we're in our campaign setup. You can see the check boxes. We've added our recipients. We have our schedule. Once we click on run campaign, we are literally off to the races. And once that happens, our campaign will go from the awaiting setup section to the running section. And then we can take a look and start looking at those metrics to show open rate, click rate, etc. Now, one last thing I want to talk about quickly is synced emails. If you look on the last screen, you can see the emails down the list, those buyer, warm, prospect, etc. Now, if your email is synced, you're going to see this little light blue button. Now, this is important because if your brokerage has shared something or the brand has shared something, it may have that it's synced. The reason why this is important is that your emails will remain synced to that original content if there's no edits made. But if you go into and make edits, it's kind of like a contract. You might make an offer, but if somebody makes any changes to that offer, well, then we're still in negotiation, right? So if you change any of the content from one of your emails, there's a really important final step you have to do. Is number one, you'll get a warning that says, hey, you're going to break this sync because you've made changes to it. But the most important part is how you solve it. And all you have to do is go in, you're just going to re-add that email from the library to your content, to your campaign, and then it will automatically resync. So basically, it takes the old version out, and then you have to manually say, okay, we're going to put it back in. It's the way I want it. So I hope you've enjoyed this information about how campaigns work in Moxi Engage. It was really important, I think, to know the different sections and areas. So now that we know the how, join us for our next 15 minutes of Moxi, where we're going to give you a ton of great ideas on why this is important and types of content that you can use to reach out in a personalized way that's going to deliver a lot of value to your recipients. Thanks for your time. We'll see you next time.
Can everybody hear me now? The proverbial mute button. Okay, I don't know about y'all. That helped me a lot when I first saw it about the campaigns and the e-blast and the differences. I know Lee and I have had a conversation about that in the past. And I want you guys to know the brokerage templates that he was referring to, I am in the process of drafting those as we speak for both a single email as well as some campaigns, some generic campaigns that you guys can do. So in the very near future, you're going to be able to click on there and you're going to click on the select from the source and have the brokerage be the source. And you're going to see some stuff that we're going to spoon feed you guys how to do. Okay. A little practical application of what we're talking about here is I have been in the process of doing my own database, refining my systems and processes. Just to kind of give you an idea, I've got approaching 6,000 contacts in my database as we speak right now. I actually added about 800 to it this week. I'm going to give you some real world practical examples of these campaigns, how they work, and how the importance of delivering relevant data to people, to your contacts. Okay. And you could say learn from my mistakes if you want to, but what I did is two different things. I have a campaign set up that was, I think just like Nicole and I were talking about earlier, the Happy Holidays, the holiday campaign. When I sent out the Happy Halloween just earlier this week, I got about 23% open rate and a pretty high percentage of unsubscribes because it was Happy Halloween. Okay. I think it was close to 20% unsubscribes. Pretty ugly. That's okay. I have not done a whole lot with this huge database for a little while, and it's expected that that's going to be the case. So that is on the one hand. Let's move to the other hand. On the other hand, I started farming a particular neighborhood near my neighborhood that has about 1,100 homes. I sent out, I put those 1,100 homes in my mark as a group in my CRM and Moxi, and I set them up on a neighborhood news, which is that here's what's going on in your neighborhood. Here are recent sales. Here's how many buyers are looking in your area. Very nice, relevant data. It went out to over 600 people that I had emails for. Do you want to take a guess how many unsubscribes I got? Zero. Zero unsubscribes from something that was relevant to them. Now, has it turned into a sale in that neighborhood yet? Not yet, but I think I'm on the way, and it's a good start. And I have just now started marketing myself to approximately 800 additional people. Tell me how that couldn't eventually pay off. Okay, so systems will work smarter, harder, and help you to produce more, but you just got to get things set up. And that initial workload that you're going to do in the beginning is going to start paying dividends in the long run. Okay, pretty exciting stuff. All right, everybody, any questions before we tie it up? All righty, have a great day. Huddle at 11 o'clock if you're in the building. Have a great one, everyone. Bye now.